So now we've arrived at the top of the backswing. We've stopped Grant again for some analysis, and I'd just like Mike again to offer his insight as to the checkpoints that you're looking at that would make up the stack and tilt.
Right.
Swing.
Looking at quickly, the first things I would say is that there hasn't been any weight shift going back. Next thing I'd say is the knee flex continue to change, so that Grant's right leg is straightened more, left knee's flexed more, left shoulders continue to go downward, the hands have continued to move inward, arms haven't lifted above the shoulders, the wrists continue to hinge, so that now they're about 90 degrees at this point. So, and the shoulders have turned in a circle, which we could elaborate more on.
That's right, Mike. And we could explain and just take this opportunity to explain in just a little bit more detail that concept of turning the shoulders in a circle. And we mentioned how to do that there is a three-dimensional motion of the spine. And just to help a person have some diagnostics, let's just take this opportunity here and let me pose this question to you. If Grant had swung back and he had continued to turn, but stopped left tilting and extending, what would his head look like in the picture on the right?
His head would have moved to the right.
Right. So the point here is that the way Grant was able to keep his head still and to turn his shoulders on a tilted angle, that's a right angle to the amount he's tilted over, is by the three-dimensional movement, tilting, extending, and turning.
Correct.
And at any point when those three motions aren't coordinated, the head is going to move.
Right. Just like some people might think that all we teach is this left tilt and the head would go down and forward. And we're not teaching the players to do that either. The head should just stay still.
Correct. In other words, one of the signature moves, if you will, of stack and tilt was identifying that there's a left tilt in the backswing.
Which everybody does.
Which everybody does. However, when people are learning it, they often isolate that movement. That becomes the movement that they recognize, right? Mm-hmm. But if a person actually overdid the left tilt and they left tilted too fast, you said that the head would move
forward.
Right.
So
we wanted to take this section and just explain to you that all three of those movements are what keeps Grant's head still, what gives the shoulders the angle or the pitch to the ground that you see on the right. That is a right angle to the amount the golfer is tilted over.
Correct.
Now, just a couple of other observations to add to your analysis, Mike, about the top of this backswing here. On the left picture, a couple of things occur to me, and that is that as Grant's hands trace the arc around the body, is that the left arm at the top of the backswing is along the line of the shoulders.
Right.
Correct? And it also, as a reference, would give the right elbow a position, and notice how it's only lifted off the rib cage, or it's still off the rib cage 2 to 3 inches. Porous players who don't left tilt, extend, and turn enough on the backswing end up lifting these limbs up, and that right elbow is no longer 3 inches from the rib cage at the top.
Right, and also the arms tend to pull further apart in an effort to make their swings long enough.
Correct, and that would be, when that happens from the front view, the picture of the elbows, you see how Grant's elbows here, you see how it looks like he only has one arm here on the right. That's because the distance of his elbows is the same. It's not gotten wider throughout the course of the backstroke by lifting and pulling apart the limbs. So it looks like he's got one arm from the caddy view, and you notice that the angle between that arm and the club shaft is nearly 90 degrees.
Right.
So this would be the point where the club shaft is moving from 90 to 80, and then as we progress, you'll see how it continues to hinge on the downstroke.